Shayner.
I like that. I like that a lot.
How'd you like that
Took me back. Yeah, that feels good.
little vintage Habs Tonight post game show intro? Do not pay attention to Gustafsson. Do not pay attention to Shea Weber and all the traded Habs that were in that intro. Don't worry about it. All right.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Welcome everybody. We have to have some fun tonight after that beat down in Beantown. The Montreal Canadiens lose 9-4 to the big bad Bruins. They weren't the big bad Bruins tonight. Honestly, we're going to talk a lot about this game, probably in short order, because I want to go watch Green Bay redeem my night for me. But the Habs lose pretty handily to the Bruins. And you said just before we jumped on the air, Shanner, that this game wasn't that bad if you just forget the third period. So
not at all. Not at all. It was a 1-goal game heading into the third, right? And we were starting on the power play too, but something just didn't click, and everything went to shit. But no, before, like the first two periods, tons of positives. Like you could go through them. Cole Caulfield, 5-game goal streak. Joshua Roy, sweet assist there on Armia's goal. There's a lot of good stuff that we can look at. I mean, granted, Allmark probably didn't have his best game, which is probably the only reason we had 4 goals. But nonetheless, I think, you look at the first two, there's a lot to be excited about. The third has been purged from my mind already. It's just not there anymore.
Yeah, it was not a fun period to watch. Like, I was actually on FaceTime with my wife in the third period. I had the game on mute, and I'm like trying to peek at the game, pay attention to my wife and my dog on FaceTime, and I'm like, yep, okay, I don't have to pay that much attention right now to the game. No, I was watching, but yeah, I mean, like Pastrnak comes in. Did he get his own rebound on Pasternak's goal there? Yeah. Okay, and it's a pretty rare night for Sam Montembeault too. Like, I mean, that was his toughest night probably as a Montreal Canadien. I'm thinking back to Buffalo in like the 2021 season, like early Sam Montembeault days where everyone was saying he's not even an ECHL goalie or whatever. And it was a tough night for Sammy though. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, for the most part, like, the team in front of him is just sloppy defensive play in my opinion, but there were a few that he probably should have had, like that one DeBrusk goal where it just went off, on the side there, the little wraparound, that was not good. A few shots that, didn't have any screens in front of them, probably could have had, but I think this is a team loss more than anything. Like, the score might indicate otherwise, might say that, the goaltending wasn't too hot, and it wasn't. Not his best game, but man, the defensive play in our end was just awful from everybody. Like, you can start pointing fingers, but like everybody didn't play good today. No.
Yeah, Jake Evans had a bad night, I thought. David's, what's funny is this game started off with David Savard just like smashing David Pastrnak into the board twice.
Yeah.
And like, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, we're going to start with some fire, right? Like, this is going to be a good game. And like you said, like for the first two periods, I mean, we were down a goal going into the third.
That's it.
Right. So, I mean, like, you didn't see this come. At least I did. I kind of did though at the same time, because I did find that the puck was making its way in a little too easily for Boston. Like, it just seemed too sort of nonchalant the way they were getting goals tonight. Did you find that a little bit?
A little. Like I mentioned, the just everything in our defensive end was just not there today. It seemed like it was like you mentioned, nonchalant. It was just soft. I didn't feel the guys have any urgency. They played physical, but not physical to the point where like you're running down your opponent, you're hurting them. They're kind of scared to get in your zone. They weren't. They did whatever they wanted. The hits. I mean, it was 33-27 for the Habs. So, it was a physical game. The guys laid the body, but I just saw a lack of involvement defensively. And to me, that's what shifted the game. It's like in the third period, nobody was in it really.
Yeah, it seemed like their heads were kind of checked out. We got a bunch of comments coming in from my pregame show today. My friend Paul Lemire, January 20th, the tank is officially on. God bless StreamYard. We can bring live comments from all of you guys right now, live during the show. I haven't done a live show in a while. and I'm just glad to do it with one of my favorite people in the world to do it with. But it's funny that Paul says this because I actually have this graphic that I told you I was going to tease. So like, I don't want them to tank, but like, I don't know. Go ahead. You say what you want to say.
Well, it's a tricky situation, right? Because at the point where the Habs are right now, tanking is a myth, by the way. No NHL team sets out to lose.
We've made that clear,
we can cross that out. Tanking is more a term of like, okay, we're selling assets, we're going young, we're likely going to lose, but whatever, let's try to get the best pick possible. So in this situation, right, the Habs are likely going to pick top 10, hopefully higher. So losing games, in a sense, can be seen as a good thing. However, I want to highlight two teams here, okay? Ottawa and Buffalo. Both of these teams were supposed to be really good this year, and they're not.
Yeah.
Why is that? To me, it boils down to a losing culture. These teams have been so accustomed to losing for the last however many years that they don't know how to win. So losing games when you're in the Habs spot right now is good, but so is winning them. The team needs to learn how to win to create that winning culture. And that's what Boston's done. Wouldn't you know, they just pumped us 9-4, right? So they know how to win. They were in a close game heading to the third on the PK, and they demolish the Habs. That is a winning culture, sustainable winning. And that's what Kent and Jeff are trying to build. So there's a balance here. You know, you want the team to play hard. And the best case scenario is a hard fought loss, right?
Yeah.
A lucky bounce that went in and you just lose the game. That's the best case scenario because it's not your fault. This kind of game, I'm not a fan of because it seemed like the team just gave up. That's not a winning culture. It needs to be a full 60 minutes. And that's when, you know, when it gets the time that you're actually good and then you have the players and you're healthy, then you know how to win and you get to the promised land. It's a balance.
Yeah. I mean, what is it tonight though? That I've never seen a game like this from the Canadiens where I don't know if they gave up, but I just think that they felt like nothing was going to go their way. And they just kind of frozen to the point where maybe their minds were maybe they were a little bit out of it by the end. Like, I mean, defensively overall, it was just missed assignment after missed assignment after missed assignment. And then Sam Montembeault is left to deal with the wrath of it, really, you know. I just want to take a look at his numbers tonight because I know they're not going to,
Yeah, 733.
Oh gosh. And then Caden comes in with a star-studded 833.
Yeah.
Caden Primo 833 save percentage. Sam Montembeault 733. Monty gives up 8 goals against, which just never happens, right?
No.
So this is a game. Is this an easy game to overreact about everything though? Because it seems like it could be.
You know what? It is Boston after all, right? They are first in the division for a reason. They are a juggernaut. If you drop a stinker like that against the Chicago, against a San Jose, and we did lose to San Jose, it was a closer game though.
Yeah.
But if you do that against one of those teams, that is very concerning. Against, you know, a contender like Boston is, you're like, okay, you know what? They're a really good team. We're hurt. We're young. Let's move on. Let's just forget about this, move on. But yeah, no, there's a lot to improve. Let's just say that. There's a lot to improve.
Do you think that Monty should have been pulled sooner? Would it have made a difference, do you think?
It's hard to tell, right? The Habs were kind of still in it. When you got 4 goals on the board, you know the other goalie's not having a good night either. Allmark finished with an 8-10, right? That's not good either. So you know you're still in it, sort of, right? Even if they put up 6 against you, you know you can put up more against them. But you know when it got to 8, you're like, okay, this is over. Let's not embarrass him anymore, right? Let's pull him. But I wouldn't have pulled him after the second. No.
I don't want to beat up on one player necessarily, but this guy has had a tough go on and off throughout the season. But do you think that Barron is still worthy of being with the club right now? Say it gets to the point where they may. Do you bother calling up Arbor Jackeye at this point? Like, because I don't know if Laval won tonight. They were down 1-0.
Yeah, 3-2.
Laval won again.
Yeah,
Like, it's going really, really well in Laval right now.
big time.
So how do you can't mess with that, right? Like, you just can't.
I don't see the need to, right? The situation in Laval is so good right now. Like, they are rolling, and they're actually, I think they just creeped into a playoff spot. So
Yeah.
I think that experience is actually better for like, say, a guy like Jackeye, right? He's playing big minutes, a big role. He's like the number one guy there. He's creating chemistry with Mayu, who might be his D partner with the Habs as soon as next year. Who knows? Right. So I think you leave it as is. Like, this is fantastic, right? As for Barron, I'm like, it's hard. It's hard to tell because, like you said, he'll have that odd, like, really good game, and you're like, oh my god, he's here. This is the guy we traded Lehkonen for, right? He's here, and then he just can't seem to get it on. It's a problem of consistency, and he's young.
Yeah.
I think that's normal, but we've seen those flashes of greatness from him, so that should be encouraging. Now he just needs to get those flashes to be more consistent, and then you got a heck of a defenseman on your hands. I think the rotation they have going with Kovacevic is good. Don't play him every game. I think next game Kovacevic will draw back in, but I don't know that I'd send him to Laval. I think the situation there is so good that you just don't touch it. Like leave it as is.
Is it just like, Barron made the team and started off okay this season? He started off fine. Mm-hmm. Is it just too much too soon? Like, he's just eating up too many minutes too quickly now? Like, now it's catching up to him? Maybe that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, he was kind of put in a big role, right? With guys like Struble coming in, he's still a rookie, right? Harris has a smaller workload. So he is kind of asked to do a lot. But, if you're always asked to do a little bit, you won't improve. You kind of have to be thrown into the shark tank to kind of learn how to swim, right? So it's a process. I think everybody, I wouldn't judge him on this game because everybody had a bad game, but I just think he needs to find that consistency, and that goes, that's also for the coaches, right? The coaches need to help him figure out what he does best and when he does it and how he does it, and then you start getting into a pattern. I'm not worried about Barron just because I love his ceiling so much. Like, if he can actually develop into what he can be, that's a really, really good defenseman you got there. So right now I'm not hitting the panic button now.
Well, speaking of buttons, if you guys are enjoying this therapy session after a very tough Habs loss, hit the like button. We appreciate it, and spread this to more Habs fans and more hockey fans. Habs lose 9-4 to the Boston Bruins. Now, Heinen, the reason I have the yellow graphic up is to punish us for this loss, because we got to respect the Bruins a little bit. We don't need to like them, but we can respect them a little bit because, hey, you know what? Like, did you not think that this Boston Bruins team was just going to fall off a cliff like a couple years ago? Like, some people had them not making the playoffs last year, and then they had the greatest season in history. It's a culture thing, like you said, winning culture, right?
Exactly. No, you lose one of the greatest centers of all time, Patrice Bergeron, and your second line center, Krejci, and then you're still the best team in the division. Like, that is a winning culture. No matter who you lose, you still have that nucleus and that mentality. And it's really hard to put it into words. You just kind of have to be there. You have to live it. I played hockey. I played minor hockey for 10 years. Granted, at a much lower level. I wasn't very good, but I had teams where, like, the chemistry was not there. We could not get along. It was a shit show. And we had, like, I've been in teams where we had that winning mentality and we won everything. So those teams, it's just so hard to do, but once you have it, you're rolling. and you got to maintain that. And Boston has maintained that throughout injuries, throughout, retirements. They just keep rolling. So like you said, you got to respect it. And I'll take the L, man. They deserve the win tonight.
Yeah, like before the third period started, I'm like, this game really could use some overtime, but the Habs definitely don't deserve to win this game. And then it was just like boom, 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 boom. Like it just all, fell off a cliff. I mentioned that Heinen got the hat trick tonight. The Bruins fans, I mean, they were having a good time in TD Garden. I mean, they were getting the Olays going. They fed us our lunch and our dinner combined. Let's just say that. So, I mean, that's what the Bruins fans doing, the Olays, doing the wave. Like they're having a time. It's their centennial season. They bring out the 1988, cup, or not cup team, but the team that finally broke the curse against the Canadiens, right? After all the years of the Canadiens dominating the Bruins.
I'm sorry, that banner made me laugh. It's like the jinx, the breaking jinx team, or whatever it said on there. That was stupid. I'm sorry, that was so dumb. Like I understand the jinx and how how crazy it was.
We're going back to red, by the way. We've respected the Bruins enough. Okay. No, go ahead. Sorry.
That little ceremony was, I don't know, man. Maybe it's just because I wasn't alive and I didn't witness this team and this era. Exactly. Yeah. So I really didn't care for it. I thought it was kind of dumb, but hey, you know what? Boston fans had the right to celebrate tonight. They earned it. They earned the right to make fun of us too, because that was embarrassing. But no, we move on. We forget and we move on.
Yeah, good call on the laundry. Doing the laundry there. Merch 340 senior.
Smart move.
The Laval Rocket play with more passion than this Habs team. I don't know. Maybe I don't know that it's passion lacking. I think it's more just things are just clicking. But did things not start clicking in Laval though, big time since Arbor Jackeye got there? Because now it seems like now they just won't accept losing at all. Like since Arbor got there, they've been on a heater. Is that not bang on?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been keeping up to date. Like I haven't watched the games that much.
Me either.
From what I have seen,
I'm box score watching.
But. Oh my god, it's a completely different team. Like I followed the team pretty closely in the beginning of the season. I tuned off at one point. I'm like, duh, what the hell is this? Like this is not good, And I understand the team's young, and I was at the development camp before the season, and I was there with Jean-François Houle, and he was talking about how there's going to be a learning curve. There's going to be a period where the team is young, so they're learning, and it's going to be tough. So I guess they went through it, and now we're back to normal because this team is serious. Like they've got like the goaltending, right? That was the main issue to start the season in Laval. Dobeš just wasn't in it, and then Mann was also, he stole a few games here and there. He actually scored a goal, which was pretty funny, but it just wasn't there. And then Dobeš now all of a sudden he's the man. Like he is playing so damn good. And they brought in Casimir Kaskasuo. Shout out to him because he's also doing YouTube. Fantastic content creator. If you don't follow him, yeah, he's really, really good. He's really funny too. But tonight, I'm sure I don't think you've seen the clip yet, but we're playing against Belleville, and a Belleville guy actually charged Kaskasuo. Like
I saw that.
He just punched him.
I seen that, man.
That is wild. So Laval plays Belleville 6 more times this season. So Saunier is the guy who charged Kaskasuo. He's gonna have a bounty on his head, and watch out for number 72 when he gets on the ice. He's gonna punish him. But that's the culture that's in Laval right now. The guys are sticking up for each other because right away, I don't like you saw 3 guys jumped on him.
I was waiting for Jack to jump, and then it just like didn't matter.
Yeah, he's lucky he wasn't on the ice, but 3 guys jumped on him right away. It's working really, really well in Laval right now. I need to go get myself some tickets because I need to go see them. They're a lot of fun. And once the Habs, the injured Habs player come back, that means that Laval is going to get some of their players back too. They're going to get even better. So yeah, good time to be a Rocket fan. We'll just say it like that.
Rocket fan. That was an easy one. Kaskasua had 45 saves tonight. That's the graphic I
Machine.
just had up a minute ago.
Yeah, that's a professional tryout too. So he's earned himself a nice little contract, in my opinion.
That's pretty cool, man. I mean, like the goaltending situation is never a bad. You can never have too many defensemen or goaltenders, right? One thing I want to talk about this game tonight was Shawn Monahan having 3 assists, and he was really, really good on the bumper spot, right? And just kind of like just ching, 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 like just the calls. The calls can't come fast enough for Shawn Monahan's services, right? I think is what I wanted to talk about with you. So, he looked really good and just kind of the smart, like even the opening goal of the game, which believe it or not, the Canadiens scored the first goal in this game tonight, believe it or not, way back in the first period. Cole Caulfield with his 5th goal in 5 games. And that was actually a record too. Actually, I will give a shout out to Cole Caulfield just because there's not much positive to talk about. So let's talk about him for a second. So Cole Caulfield became the 5th Canadiens player in the past 50 years to record a 5-game goal streak at age 23 or younger, following Andre Kostitsyn, remember him, in 2008, 2009, John Leclerc in 92-93, the year the Habs won the Cup, Steve Shutt, number 22 himself, in 1974-75, and rest in peace, Guy Lafleur in 74-75 as well. So good for Cole. I mean, that was all Shawn Monahan just kind of like, you don't really see a lot of plays, at least to me, completed like by the guy in the bumper spot, because they're just kind of in the middle of the slot, just kind of like, just dishing out passes, trying to make the right plays. But Shawn Monahan had more time with the puck and was able to get it down to Cole for that goal.
Oh man, that was so nice. But Shawn has been fantastic. I mean, let's just give some flowers to Kent Hughes for a second, because he got Shawn Monahan and a 1st-round pick for nothing. He gave away nothing. And guess what? At the trade deadline, he could get another 1st-round pick for Shawn Monahan. So that would be 2 1st-round picks for nothing. If he can pull that off, you have to build him a statue. That is absurd asset management. Okay. Now I'm getting ahead of myself saying that Shawn Monahan is going to get traded for a 1st, but I do value him very highly. And in Kent's shoes, I think you kind of have to, obviously evaluate the market for Shawn Monahan. If it's not where Kent wants it to be, this isn't a guy that you absolutely need to move. He's so valuable to this team and will be for years if you want it that way, right? So
yeah, it's hard to know.
It's a balance, right? So if I'm Kent, I'm taking calls, of course, but I'm also setting a benchmark. If I'm not getting what I want for him, I'm keeping him. And it's not hurting the team at all. In fact, he's a fantastic veteran presence. And it's funny to say he's a veteran because he's not that old, right? So if you keep him with the team, he stays healthy. That's a big thing. If he stays healthy, that's a really good guy to have around. Really good.
Yeah. So this is a good point by Dave, a regular contributor on my channel here. Everyone wants Monahan traded, but we need to replace what he offers on the power play, or else expect our power play to be struggling again. That's the other thing too, is that our power play tonight was still, what was it, like 2 for 3? It was 2 for 3. It was 2 for 3 tonight.
Yeah.
And it's been better with Shawn Monahan on it. He's been actually, right? So like you take Shawn Monahan off it, like then the tank is on. So to me, it's like, you don't get better with Shawn Monahan traded, but you have to get really good assets in return. And honestly, at this point, he's right near the top of the, like you said, like they're gonna get a 1st-rounder and a prospect at least at this point, is my thinking here.
If he's so valuable, like you take a contending team. I'm just going to take the Vancouver Canucks as an example because I think he'd fit fantastic over there. That is the ideal 2nd-line center you want on a contending team. He can do everything. He is good at everything. He's been in the league for a while now. He knows what he's doing. So if I'm a contending team, man, I'm paying high price for him. And again, if I'm Kent Hughes, I'm only accepting a high price for him because he's just so that much valuable. Like I keep thinking about that trade from Calgary's standpoint, and I get that they wanted to sign Kadri and they had to make room on the cap, but And Kadri has worked decent for Calgary, but my
Yeah.
God, like what a mastermind move. You take on that contract. He turns out to be a fantastic player. You sign him 1 year at a small contract. You take in a first round pick, and then you can trade him for more assets. Nuts. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it.
I know Ken is fun, and like he's such a like he's as gentle in person as you would expect that he is when you see him talk on camera. But
Yeah.
How does this team get better with a Shawn Monahan trade? It's got to be more than just a first round pick, right? I mean, like if the Canadiens don't get a top 10 pick in this draft, the first round pick might be for next year. Like there's some good talent next year, I think, as well. I mean, you're in the recruits draft cast, so you kind of. So what's the situation for the Canadiens? We have a first rounder for. Do we have 2 firsts in 2025 already?
I believe so. I believe
Let me double
the
check
Shawn
that for you.
Monahan trade, the
Yeah.
Calgary first rounder was for 2025. This year, right now, 2024, we only have 1 first rounder, which again
Yeah.
should be in the top 10. I'm thinking in the 7 range is fair to assume, because I think Buffalo and Minnesota are going to pass us. Right now they're below, but I think they're better teams. So I think the Habs are going to fall some more.
Yeah.
And again, you could always win the lottery. That would be pretty nice, right? Reunite Lane Hudson with his buddy Macklin Celebrini. I wouldn't say no to that.
No kidding. Yeah.
But
That's
they're like, even if you get a top 10 pick here, there's enough depth in the prospect pool to get something really, really good. There's some strong forwards. I know people are not going to want a defenseman. There's some really good defensemen in this draft, but if we want to go forward, man, there's a lot of options. There's a lot of options. So I would push for a 2024 first round pick, if I'm being honest.
yeah.
Because by the 2025 draft, I don't know where the
Too late.
Habs are going to be. Right?
Kind of too late. Like
That's when you start trading your first round picks. The team is going to be hopefully healthy. Right? That's a big part. But if the team stays healthy and the players develop as you want them to, they're going to start being good sooner rather than later. And at that point, like the first round pick it's going to be more valuable to trade than to actually use, because by the time you develop that prospect that you select, you're already, in the playoffs, and then they don't really have a spot. You kind of have to follow the timeline and the process. And that's something that Kent and Jeff have done a fantastic job of doing. Like when they got hired, they set out a master plan, and they've followed that. Obviously you have to adapt and whatnot, but I would push for a 2024 first round pick and more for Monahan. You got to have more than just that. And maybe we're biased in saying that, but I really do think that he could be such a key piece on a contending team to push them over the edge, that I think like it's worth that price. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, like, so I'll put Dave's comment back up here. But so right now, the Canadiens have 1 first rounder in the 2024 draft this year. They do have 2 first rounders in the 2025 draft. The conditional pick from Calgary is the one they got in the Monahan deal. There's a lot of conditions on it. I'm not even going to try to get into it. So I think you're absolutely right. They have to get a first rounder this year, or like Dave says here, a second rounder and a top prospect. An A prospect, right? So I think that makes sense. But it's amazing because like I don't know how to feel about this season after a game like tonight. It's still like there's still only 6 or 8 points out of a wild card spot, which like that doesn't matter. Like they're not making the Canadiens aren't making the playoffs. But it's just a matter of like how can we how do we progress without creating a losing culture, while at the same time making the right moves at the deadline and at the coming draft this year.
It's a funny space to be in, right? And
yeah,
I wouldn't want to be in Kent's shoes right now, because you got some serious decisions to make. There's the 3 goalie situation that needs to be resolved. So then, we're all assuming that Allen's, the odd man out, but then you also have to set yourself a benchmark value for him. If you're not going to get more than your benchmark, then again, I don't think Kent's going to move him. He said that himself in a press conference. He's not going to move him if he doesn't get what he wants. Same thing with David Savard. He's a name that could, again, interest a lot of contending teams. He's a Stanley Cup winner, a proven, reliable defenseman that could bring in quite a bit of value. So you have to set yourself a benchmark, evaluate the market, see what you can get for him, and then you might have to part ways. As much as it hurts, because I love David Savard, it's asset management, right?
Yeah, we know it's coming.
That's what Marc Bergevin screwed up with, is that he made everything personal. And listen, I'm not a Bergevin hater. All right. I think he's made some fantastic moves, and he brought us to the Stanley Cup final. You can't take that away from him. But one thing he didn't do right was make things personal. If he liked the player, he didn't want to trade him, right? Or he overvalued him. Like, that's what Kent isn't doing and needs to continue not doing.
Yeah.
That's how you build a winning team. Asset management.
Yeah, and I think that they will do it properly this time. And Savvy's going to be gone, I think, if for the right price. I think Savvy's worth, I don't know, at least a second rounder or third rounder.
That's it.
But here, I want to propose something to you. This is kind of random and off the cuff. And I was really, and shout out to Lane Hudson for getting a goal tonight too. So all the power to him. Maybe Reinbacher and Hudson, will see them actually together before the end of the year on the Habs. We don't know. If they are down in the dumps and like the season's gone, I think both of them, I mean, Reinbacher is already signed. Hudson is not signed yet. He will be signed though, as Kent Hughes has said. But I want to propose something to you, because we're never really going to get many chances to get a UFA off the market that's going to really help the rebuild, a top 6 forward, which we know we need. So I was really looking ahead to the 24 and 25 UFA classes. And I just want to throw this out there because no name really particularly gripped me quite as much as this one. And I don't know. I think the chances are probably pretty slim, because I just think that he's going to be too valued by his franchise. Are you still with us, Shayne? Because I see you a little frozen there.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Okay, I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Your video is going to catch up in a second.
Yeah, for some reason I'm not responding.
You are there though. You are there.
Okay, sweet.
So the name. Let me just throw the name out at you. And
Yeah.
This is again a bit of a pipe dream, but the kind of player the Canadiens need, in my opinion, after missing, say, on Michkov, for example, right? They didn't get Michkov, we know. What do you think about UFA in 2025, Kirill Kaprizov? Is it just obvious that they're going to sign him to a max deal and this is a stupid idea? Or is it just me?
So, okay, here's my thing with big contracts. Let's look at the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Okay? We're only going to overpay 1 or 2.
Yeah.
If Kaprizov is one of them, what do you think? And now I think I lost Shayne. I did lose Shayne. So Shayne's been booted up for a second, but he'll rejoin us in a second. So I got a lot of your comments coming in, guys. So I'm going to try to address these as well. Shayne will rejoin us in a moment. But basically my proposal was looking at the 24, 25 UFA draft classes, even up to 2026. I was saying, like, what players could Montreal potentially sign in the UFA market, because we just never do that. We never sign anyone as a big fish. We never land the big fish in Montreal. Toronto's got 4 big fish and they still can't win. So my proposal was, Shayner's back. Welcome back, buddy. There he is.
Hello.
Yeah, there you are. Wi-Fi troubles in Montreal. But my proposal was, what do you think about the possibility of a player like a Kaprizov in 2025 as a UFA? And my other question also was, is it just impossible? They just, because do you really see is it Bill Guerin, the GM, still the Minnesota Wild?
Yeah.
Like, do you really see them letting that guy walk? Because Johnny Gaudreau walked out of Calgary, but Kaprizov's just too good, right? So that's just never gonna happen.
That's it. It would have to stem from Kaprizov himself saying, I don't want to re-sign here. Because Bill Guerin is going to throw all the money at him. And rightfully so. He's their star player. He's their guy. Now, if I'm the Habs, I'm inquiring. I don't know that he want to play here. If he's a UFA, he'll get to decide. I'm sure there's a team that will offer more money than the Habs will.
Okay.
But it's tough, man. Like, of course, in a perfect world, I'd love to bring him here. Like, that'd be fantastic. You kidding me? That's awesome. I have a hard time seeing the money work, because the Habs will have so many contracts to give out in the next couple of years to young players who are going to outperform their contracts and earn more money, and you'll have to pay them. I would rather have a structure focused on depth rather than one line of high caliber talent. And that was my example with the Leafs. It's like, sure, they have like five really good guys. I'll include Morgan Riley in there. That's like what, 60% of their salary cap is allocated to those guys.
Yeah.
The rest of the team is going to suffer from that. Sure, you're going to have a few more decent NHLers. The rest are going to be AHLers. You're not going to have any depth. If you look at Stanley Cup champions, one thing in common is that they all had insane depth. Sure, they had star players, no doubt about that. But you can't allocate too much money up front to just a few players. To me, that's just a recipe for disaster. You got to focus on depth. And that's what the Habs are doing now. I would not deviate from the plan. But if Kirill Kaprizov says, hey, I want to be a Montreal Canadien, I'm willing to take it, I don't know, $9 million. Dude, let's do it. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's what he gets right now. Away. He gets $9 million for the next 2 seasons after this one. So then he's a UFA at the age of 28. It's pretty crazy to think that that's ever going to happen. Marco Rossi also is a future, star player for them, I think, too. They still got Eriksson Ek, who's only 26, and Matt Boldy. So they got some talent. So don't get me wrong, it's a bit of a pipe dream, but I'm with you. I think I'm with you. You know why? You look at the '93 Cup team, and I know it's like a different era and all that good stuff. There wasn't a superstar other than Patrick Waugh. Welcome back, Patrick Waugh. I'm going to get your take on Patrick Waugh in a second. But other than Patrick Waugh, the '93 Stanley Cup Montreal Canadiens team was a team of destiny, as Glenn Healy put it. They were a team first, right? Mm-hmm. They just figured it out as a team, as a unit. So I don't need to add a bunch of superstars either. Once the money's there and the cap goes up and and contracts are off the books, and you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm with you in terms of the depth. So Kent just this last week at the halfway mark, Kent Hughes said and Damon, shout out to former Habs Tonight co-host Damon, proposed a question to us about, Kent says that he wants to make another Kirby Dach, Alex Newhook-esque trade, possibly as soon as this summer. So if we're not going to go for the big fish in the UFA market, do you have anybody that comes to mind or any sense of what kind of players they could trade for to help improve the offense?
I do. I actually have a name in mind that I've been pondering about. It might be a bit of a stretch. I don't know that the team will be willing to let him go, but I would definitely look into Capo Caco from the New York Rangers. For one, Jeff Gorton drafted him. He knows him very well, right? He knows what kind of player this is. So if the Rangers are all in at the trade deadline and they're looking for a significant upgrade, I'm not going to throw any names in return. I don't know what the package would look like. I haven't thought that far ahead, but I think Capo Caco is an interesting name. That is a player that hasn't really been given the chances to succeed in New York, rightfully so, because they're such a good team. They want to win now, but the potential is insane. Like, he was picked second overall for a reason. He obviously hasn't lived up to that yet, but he's still very young. Yeah. So there's time. I don't know. That's a player that would interest me.
What do you think it would really cost to get a player like Trevor Zegras in Montreal? It seems like it would be a pretty cool fit, but like, how high is that price? Like, they just traded for Cutter Gauthier. You think they're just going to let go of their superstar talent? Like, I do not see it. I do not see it at all. I don't see it.
Because to me, the way that Anaheim's position right now is similar to the Habs, where they're looking to bring in young talent, not let it go. So losing Trevor Zegras, they would be asking for young talent in return, which we are probably not willing to give. That's why I would look more at contending teams who are trying to win now and probably, would be willing to let go of their young talent. Zegras would be awesome. Don't get me wrong. Like, you bringing him with with Cole, the chemistry's there. He'd be a ton of fun, right? That's an exciting offensive player. We haven't had that in a while. Yes, sir.
Hit the like button. Yeah, sorry, go.
but I'm sure the price is too high. Like I have no idea what the price could be. I'm thinking somewhere around the Gooley mark, which I would not do at all. I think Gooley is actually more valuable for the Habs than Zegras would be for the Habs.
Defense wins championships, right?
Dude, Gooley is he's going to be a luxury third defenseman. Can you imagine that? Like, he's already top 2 in the team, right? It's him and Matheson, really. But once, Reinbacher gets his groove and Hudson comes in and rips up the league, this guy's going to be your third defenseman, realistically. That's such a luxury, and that is how you win. That's how you win. You look at again, it's a proven recipe, okay? You look at the Cup winners, the depth they had on defense is nuts. Each of them. That's how you win. Now, Zegras is a fantastic player. I'm not a Zegras hater. I've seen a lot of hate around him saying he's soft, he's, all that. Whatever. He's got fantastic talent. This guy was picked very high for a reason, but I would keep Gooley over him every day of the week. No questions about that.
So Kako, you said, as a possible trade upgrade for the Canadiens in their top 6. Does anybody else come to mind? I mean, like, I'm just curious if that's the only name that has you sort of thinking about how to upgrade this top 6. Like, do you think the upgrading this? I don't necessarily think that upgrading the top 6 is going to definitely happen this year.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of should, in a sense, because of the assets we might be parting with, right? I mean, like, if we trade Shawn Monahan, we're definitely getting a top prospect or a first rounder or both. But if Kent Hughes doesn't get what he wants, like, that's the whole thing about the Josh Anderson rumors last year, right? Is there were a ton of calls on Josh Anderson. None of those trades manifested because they weren't offering enough for what they wanted for him, right? So with that in mind, I mean, Shawn Monahan are they in a position of strength with Monahan at this point? Do you think it's pretty obvious that they are, right? They're going to entertain only the best offer. So
no doubt about that. And there's a big market for Shawn Monahan. A lot of the contending teams are in dire need of that pure second line center, reliable veteran that can do everything. He's going to bring in quite the return. Mark my words on that. Kent is going to make sure of that as well. I think, again, I bring up the Vancouver Canucks because I just think it's such a perfect fit. Like, that first line is nasty already. You plug in Shawn Monahan in the second, yuck! Like, that team could genuinely, like, go all the way. I'm convinced if they stay healthy, watch out, right? I don't know what they could give in return. I think a first starts with a first. I don't know that they have that high level prospect that I would take on for Monahan. But I just see the fit there. It's so good. But like I said, there's a bunch of other teams that could use that reliable second line center.
Elliot
I know
said that Vancouver was in the market for a top 6 player for sure. I just want to say this about Laine. That ship sailed a long time ago. We're not interested in him. Nothing against you, Jason, but I'm not interested in a Patrick Laine player like that. No, doesn't work. Not for the rebuild at all. Not a guy you would want to add. I keep getting distracted by the Green Bay game. They're actually still beating San Francisco right now. So forgive me for looking over. Okay, so Lindholm. Lindholm is the main domino default, and then teams will scatter to Montreal for Monahan. That's interesting enough. But
again, I don't know that Calgary moves on from him. I don't know his contract situation right now. Maybe that's why. If they can't pay him, then I can understand moving on from him. But Calgary is still in a position to make the playoffs. I think the Atlantic Division. What the fuck? I'm getting my divisions mixed up. But
maybe
the Pacific Division. Thank you. The Pacific Division is open. To me, it's open. Right. The Kings are falling right now. The Kings stink.
That's weird too because they were hot for a while.
It's very weird. So
Lindholm
okay. He is a UFA. He is a UFA at the end of the year, which makes so that makes sense if they want to trade him. Uh, he's going to cost more than Monahan, I think. So I think teams could get sort of Lindholm light for cheaper with Monahan. So
Because
I don't
Monahan's
know.
cap hit is going to be next to nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You get a low cap hit, player that, sure, Lindholm is probably better than Monahan, but again, the margin is not that big. I don't know that Lindholm is going to be that big domino that you need to fall. You need to wait to fall. Yeah, I think Monahan's going to dictate the market a little bit here. I really do.
Do you think because this is more obvious maybe in a sense because like Kirby Doc and Alex Newhook are young players. So I mean, Damon has an interesting point about Alex Turcotte. He hasn't worked out in LA and still very young at 22 years of age, right around the age of Newhook and Doc. So is that kind of trade obvious? Like the Hughes promise that he's making here to go after another Doc-esque trade, Newhook-esque trade. Does that mean for sure it's going to be a young forward? Like it's not going to be a veteran type player? Is that basically what he's saying in your mind?
Yeah, I think that's it. Like you got to have a player that fits the timeline. That's another reason why Line wouldn't work. I think he's too old. He's still very young. Don't get me wrong, but I think that age range, these players kind of need to grow together. They need to spend time together, go through losing seasons, and learn how to win together. I like the idea of Turcotte. Again, the chemistry with Caulfield. They were together at the U.S. National Development Program.
Yeah.
So they know each other, and that's a high potential offensive player. That
he's a center though. How does that fit in though? Because he is a centerman.
So what's fun about centers is that it's easy to move them to the wing. Certain centers are obviously more comfortable playing center, but moving a wing to center is very hard. Whereas moving a center to the wing is more doable. You can play more of a fluid type of game where, okay, one guy takes the draw, but there isn't an assigned position. And then some teams are doing that and it's working. So I wouldn't be too scared about the positional thing.
Okay.
I would be more concerned about the asking price from LA. I don't know if they still value him that much because let's not forget Quentin Byfield didn't look that good before this year, and now all of a sudden he's playing on the first line, and he's a key piece to this LA team. So they might think that, okay, well, Turcotte's next. Like next year, we're gonna give him a good shot, and he's gonna perform the way he's supposed to. If they value him that much, I don't know that I would give up a ton. I think this is a buy low sort of situation where, okay, if you can get a good price for him, I would do it for sure. I'd do it. Yeah.
It's interesting too because Kakko is only 22 as well. His cap hits 2.1 million. So makes you wonder. Lafreniere picking it up at age 22 as well. Like he's starting to get it together, obviously. So yeah, it's interesting, man. Like to see what's going to happen because the Canadiens are again just in an interesting spot in a sense, right? Just because of the fact that they're in a bit of no man's land now at this point. We don't know what. So I'm really looking forward to the trade deadline. Every year it seems to be. And yes, you can make jokes as long as they're appropriate. So yes, we welcome jokes as long as they're appropriate and not demeaning to anybody. So that's all. I just want to let Hab Nations know about that. So maybe he's rethinking his joke. But it's curious what's going to happen with the cap going up next year. You still got Brendan Gallagher on the books for a couple more years. Carey Price's contract is going to be buried in LTIR, I guess, for until the end of it. Is that pretty much where we're at? Because he's not going to get traded. That contract is not going to be moved unless it helps Kent Hughes. Then Carey said he'd be open to it as long as he's never going to play anywhere else again, which that is the case. Less a miracle, right? Okay, so here's a proposal. Here's a proposal. Monahan and a second for Kakko. Do you think the Rangers want to upgrade at center position?
So I think the Rangers are good at center. They're running Zibanejad and Trocheck right now, which I think is fantastic. Like that is an elite top two center lines. But I don't know. I think the Rangers would be more inclined to get a guy like Anderson. But you'd probably have to give more than a second. I don't know. It depends how much the Rangers value Kakko, how much they value Anderson. Because Anderson, you plug him on the first line, you got Zibanejad, Kreider, Anderson, who's a power forward who would fit that line, I think, like a glove. Listen, again, I might be biased. I might be overrating Josh Anderson, but I value him quite highly. I think he has some decent potential on a contender. So if the Rangers want to go for it, and instead of a second, you might have to throw in another player too, like an established player. If they want to go all in, you might have to throw in another player. Then you might have to take on one of their bad contracts to make the cap work. It's a lot of juggling. There might be some retention involved. It's really, really complicated stuff. But if you can find a way to get Kakko without giving up too much, without giving up any young prospects or any, okay, there's certain that are expendable. Okay, I'm not going to start naming names. That's for Kent to do, but none of the A levels. Okay, none of the A levels. Those stay put. You keep your first rounders, and you can get Kakko. I'm doing it. Nothing. I don't see a reason why not. The potential, the ceiling is very high.
He's a big boy too. Kakko is 6'2", 205.
No, he's not small. Oh yeah.
He's from Finland. His numbers aren't even that bad. Like I'm seeing progress in his numbers, at least as a New York Ranger overall. Like his top production was in 2022-23, which actually was last year. Sorry. So 18 goals, 22 assists, 40 points from Kakko. That one makes sense, man. Like that's one, like you got to pay for it to get.
Yeah, you'll have to pay.
You know, like you're probably giving up a first rounder maybe or something. I don't know. It depends on how much you value him, but I don't know, man. I don't know if he's the answer either. But like you said, they need. So in your opinion though, that if they're going to grow in the top six in terms of production, like Kirby Dach, once Kirby Dach's healthy, you add in a guy like Kakko to your top six, and that kind of shores things up with Suzuki, Caulfield, Slavkovsky developing, and then Dach, Newhook. I mean, I'm trying to think of who else we got in the pipeline, but it's all defense prospects and goalies.
Yeah, I'd throw in Joshua Roy in there. He's playing fantastic.
Roy, thank you. I knew I was
Philip Meshar, Owen Beck.
Thank you. We can't forget about the kids coming, right?
No. There's quite a few offensive prospects that are quite good. Like they will make the NHL. They will be good. I'm just worried about that elite offensive output. Again, I'm not talking about that 120 point guy, but yes.
Thank you. No, I just want to say Dave.
Shout out Dave.
Support. Yeah. Dave's always so supportive. Yeah.
Yes, sir. But I think the potential from Kakko is so high that he's worth taking a gamble on. And he's going to be put in a good situation here. Like he's going to be put in a situation where he's going to.
It really makes sense. You're getting my gears going on this one.
Yeah. So again,
trade.
I wouldn't give
really
too much,
makes sense,
but I would give quite a bit.
Seeing the progress is encouraging too, right? This season, no, I mean, like
that's it.
3 goals, 1 assist, but that's like okay, perfect. He's ripe for the taking now, right? Like kind of like a Kirby Dach situation by low, right?
Kent is 2 for 2 with those trades. I think Newhook's been a success. I know a lot of people. Yeah, I know a lot of people were not a fan of that trade to start. Like, okay, we gave up a first and a second. Those picks turned into Gulyayev and Gauthier. I do like Gauthier, but I don't know that they're worth what Newhook is worth to us now and will be when the team is good. I think he fits the timeline better than those 2 prospects would have, assuming we take them, right? That's the easiest way to do this exercise. But I'm a big fan of the Newhook trade. I think he's fitting quite nicely with this team. 13 points in 23 games is excellent. So you really can't bitch about that. And obviously Kirby Dach has been phenomenal. This guy's potential is through the roof.
Dach, Newhook, and Slavkovsky to start the season off was looking really good. And then
my God, yeah.
Then the hockey gods, if you will, hate us, which I don't believe in.
Jared Tenorti,
one god, but
Jared Tenorti.
Jared Tenorti. Yeah, I know. But we'll have to get going in a moment here. But I just want to say too, if you haven't already, guys, Shayne Gaumont, my guy here, has been firing off some wicked interviews on the recruits Draftcast, the Sick Podcast recruits Draftcast with Grant McKegg, and they just interviewed Philip Machar. It just dropped today, so make sure you check that out. They just interviewed Owen Beck. They interviewed Lane Hudson, which has taken off. That everyone wants to hear from Lane Hudson. Everyone's really excited.
He's
about
a great guy, man. Such a great guy. Yeah.
They all are, man. They're all good kids, like you said, and that's the thing about like having defense and forward prospects that we're looking forward to. Ryan Backer, we're going to hear and learn more from. I'm sure you guys are going to get David on the show at some point. I guarantee it.
I'd love that.
I guarantee it, because Grant was one of the first ones to mention, like he was Slavkovsky, that they should go, the Canadiens should really consider drafting Ryan Backer, which they ended up doing. So defense, like the right deals will be there, I think, but I am intrigued by Kakko. I just think like the fresh environment under Marty St. Louis with a healthy squad, that name really intrigues me. So the more I thought about it throughout the show here, I think it makes sense given his positioning too. He's a right winger and he's a left-handed shot.
So awesome. Yeah.
And he's got size. I don't really know. I have to watch more of his game to really get a better feel for him. But I mean, even in the World Championships, he had 6 goals and an assist in 10 games, whatever, with Finland. But I don't know, man. It's going to be an interesting deadline. Let's see what. Yeah, Dave, of course, is the man. Doing a great job on that other YouTube show.
Yeah,
yes,
indeed.
yes, you are. Yes, you are. You're welcome, Grant. I can say that right now. You are absolutely welcome. So with that in mind, my friend, I think we'll wrap it up here. I ended up going for almost an hour, which I should have known that we would, because it's you. And
I'm not complaining, man. I always have fun.
Yeah, I get you going because I know what questions to ask you, because I know how to pick your brain. And I think this was the theme of the night. It's like, should the Canadiens go for Kaapo Kakko? I might clip this, honestly. I think this is a great clip. Talking about this player, even though you know a lot more about him than I do. And I'm gonna start watching him and seeing what I can see, because he hasn't had a very good season right now.
No, that's it. But yeah, it's all situational, right? Sure, he's getting some time on the first line, but he's not getting much power play time. The opportunities aren't really given to him, and which is completely understandable, right? Given New York's circumstances, they're going for it. They need to win every game.
Yeah.
So right now they don't care about development, which is hurting him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely, if I'm the Habs, man, I'm calling New York for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think it might be that's an off-season move to me, though. By the way,
I agree with that. Yeah,
a Kaapo Kakko potential trade is an off-season move for the Canadiens, most likely, and that's what Kirby Dach and Alex Newhook were. So that answers that, maybe potentially. So thank you guys for always the positive feedback. And if you haven't already, it does actually help the channel if you just simply push the like button if you've enjoyed this show. And if you haven't already and you want to support this channel, I do all different kinds of videos on this channel, including live shows like this one, which I should mention. I'm in Kingston, Ontario right now. I'll be watching Owen Beck live tomorrow in person, by the way. So I'll be watching Saginaw versus Kingston. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'll be getting the chance to meet the SDPN crew, including Steve Dangle, the one who inspired this channel and the name, which I even talked to Steve about on the Habs Tonight show a couple years ago, and joked that, like, I didn't want to copy him, but I kind of thought it was clever because the name worked. And then sure enough, the name stuck. Drew Dekes and Dale Weiss loved it. You guys loved it. Dekesy is the nickname. You know what I'm saying? Like, just a lot of positive came out of it. So I'm going to get the chance to actually meet Steve tomorrow in person. They're recording a lot. I don't know if it's going to be live, but it will be recorded, an episode of the Steve Dangle podcast tomorrow at a restaurant here in Kingston, where we'll be all attending while they record that. We're going skating with them in the morning at the Kingston Frontenacs Arena.
Wow.
And then we're going to be watching the game, and then we're going to the podcast recording. It's going to be a full day. So that's why I'm here, just so everybody knows as well. But it's going to be fun tomorrow, and I will tell Owen that we need him ASAP. So yeah, for sure. No, we look forward to Owen Beck eventually replacing Jake Evans, which I still believe will happen. I hope that there's more offensive upside to Owen's game. There's a lot more brains behind Owen's game, and just natural, like, he's a smart guy. God, yeah. Nothing against Jake Evans. I think he's a great guy, and he gave us 2 interviews on Habs Tonight. He's awesome for that. I just hope that once Beck and Machar get some time in Laval and they are ready in a couple of years, it'd be fun to see them start working out. So thank you all for tuning in, and thank you, Shayne, as always, for jumping on, man. I appreciate you, buddy.
Always a pleasure, my friend. Anytime.
And don't forget to keep checking out Shayne on both the Sick Podcast as a producer on the Tony Marinaro show on the Sick Podcast. There's the hat right there, and then the Sick Podcast Recruits Draftcast, where they are pumping out new Habs prospect interviews almost weekly. Here, they had two in one week. It was amazing. So,
geez, this week we got Bob McKenzie, Bobby Margarita's coming on
Bobby
the show.
Mac.
So we're talking draft prospects. If you're a Habs fan, you're gonna want to tune in because Habs are probably picking in the 1 to 10 range.
1 to 15. So, I'll say 1 to 15.
I don't think we're that good. I think we're gonna pick 1 to 10, and if we get a second first round pick, then there's gonna be two prospects in that list that we're gonna talk about. So Bobby Margarita is releasing his midterm list, which are usually pretty accurate because he surveys a bunch of scouts. So it's not just his personal rankings. It's kind of like he's taking a pulse on the field, and this is what it's looking like right now. So tune in on that. It's going to be good.
Yeah, no, Bob doesn't do a lot of podcast appearances nowadays. He's kind of like half retired or more. So that's a fact. Like, he doesn't do a ton of them. So keep an eye out for that too. I love listening to Bob McKenzie talk. He's one of my favorite hockey people of all time. So
awesome.
So I look forward to that too from you, pal. And thank you all again. We'll see how things go. I'll probably, if I get an interview with Steve Dangle tomorrow, I'm going to post that on my channel as well. I did request one. So it'd be fun just to chat with him in person and all that kind of good stuff. So thank you everybody for tuning in. I appreciate you. I'm going to have some music send us off here. So thank you all. Thank you, Shayne Gaumont. He's Gaumont. Dekes.
I love it.
We love you, Tony.
Yeah. Shout out, Tony.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.